Welcome to Gorilla Sports Off Court. I am your host for today, Liv Moods, and this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. So head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on station.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome into another Gorilla Sports Off Court. I am Liv Moods, and we are going to be breaking down the strategy behind the Denver Nuggets. I know a lot of non-Nuggets fans are probably thinking, what strategy? They're losing basketball games. I get it. I understand. I'm probably just as confused and frustrated as you are. If you guys have been on my shows before, you know I'm very honest and very transparent about my, issues with the Denver Nuggets and how some things have been handled and maybe some of the stuff that, not me breaking the microphone on the middle of the not the middle of the show, the beginning of the show. But yeah, I do think there maybe is some strategy here at play with this Denver Nuggets team in terms of maybe resting their starters for the remainder of the season, winning some games, losing some games. We'll get into all of that. But of course, first, at the top of the show, we have to talk about a conversation that I really hope the chat starts to get involved in. Maybe we'll put some comments up on the screen because I want to know your guys' thoughts on this. Carmelo Anthony is one of my all-time favorite players. I think every basketball fan just has that nostalgic player that helped them love the game of basketball. And as a little girl growing up in Denver and being a Denver Nuggets fan, I just take myself back to watching the Nuggets play. And there are a few names that come to mind. Earl Boykins being one, Birdman, Carmelo, of course, J.R. Smith, Allen Iverson. There's a lot of players that you kind of put yourself back in that nostalgic world and you think of right away, whether they were super dominant players, whether they finished their career here, it doesn't matter. You hold on to players in that way, being a fan of the game. Carmelo is one of those for me. He's at the top. I have nothing but love and respect for Carmelo Anthony and what he was able to do in Denver. And I know there's some hostility, there's some frustration, there's some grudges that are held in the city of Denver as it pertains to Carmelo Anthony. But I never viewed his departure that way. I know that this is a business, not just for the teams, but also for the players. And while there's a lot of people out there that don't agree with the way that he kind of pushed himself out of the organization, I also look at what was able to come after Carmelo and the foundation that Carmelo laid while he was in Denver, making a team that not many people cared about, a team that people loved to watch. And so I hold on to that when it comes to Melo, and I will always hold on to that when it comes to Melo. But the conversation now is retiring Melo's jersey. As you guys know, Hall of Famer, and in every way, he absolutely deserves this. Nikola Jokic. Oh my gosh. Of all the players to share a number with in the Denver organization, Nikola Jokic being the one that wears number 15, as well as Melo did when he was here, is a tough situation, no matter how you look at it, right? Because typically when you retire a jersey number, it is that player's jersey number. But I want to shed some light on what may be perceived as a hot take, and I don't mean to ruffle feathers, and in no way am I disrespecting Nikola Jokic when I'm having this conversation, because you guys know how I feel about Nikola Jokic. You guys know what Nikola Jokic brings to Denver. You guys know the type of player that he is. I talk very highly of Nikola Jokic and not only his skill set, but the way in which he elevates the players around him and what he's been able to do for Denver. Just to take you back some time ago, this was a man that was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial, right? Not many people knew what Nikola Jokic was going to be for Denver. That being said, the decision was made to give Nikola Jokic the same number that you gave Carmelo Anthony. That was a choice. And at the time that you gave him that number, I don't care what the front office or the organization as a whole has to say about it. Nobody knew what Nikola Jokic was going to be. Nobody saw this coming. This was a man drafted during a Taco Bell commercial. Nobody cared about the name Nikola Jokic. He then very quickly proved why he deserved a little bit more in being drafted and why he has become one of the greatest players. He is the best player in the world right now Whether or not he wins MVP doesn't really matter. This is a guy that is averaging triple doubles. He's won 3 MVPs. He's won a championship in Denver. He is currently playing his best basketball. Just the other night, a 61-point triple double. He is doing things that we have not seen before. I'm not saying he is the most talented basketball player we've ever seen, but he does things that we have not seen before. He is, in his own way, deserving of his own number, his own jersey retirement, because we know his number, his jersey will be hanging in the rafters in Ball Arena when his career is over. We know this. But my take on all of this is you chose to give him the same number as Carmelo Anthony. So in doing that, you now have to find a way to show respect to both players, because Carmelo did a lot for Denver. Whether you have a grudge against how he left or not, whether you agree with his departure or not, he still laid a foundation in Denver that was able to be built upon. And I think it's disrespectful to not honor what he did in Denver. You chose to give him the same number, Nikola Jokic, I mean, as Carmelo Anthony. So now you have to choose to honor Carmelo Anthony in the way that he deserves, because he does deserve it, because of the choice that you made. Again, nobody knew what Nikola Jokic was going to be for this team when he was drafted in the middle of a, freaking Taco Bell commercial. Who God only knows what that Taco Bell commercial was talking about. I don't think Baja Blasts were super popular then, but I'm sure it was like the Mexican pizza or whatever. I don't even know what they had. Doritos Locos Tacos probably weren't happening then, but nonetheless, I'm a big Taco Bell fan, by the way. This is not me shaming Taco Bell. I love Taco Bell. That being said, I don't think anyone knew what Nikola Jokic was going to be for Denver. I don't think they knew how high his ceiling truly was. And you chose to give him the number 15, knowing that you had another player, number 15, who had a lot of potential to be a Hall of Famer, that loved his time in Denver, did a lot for Denver, laid a foundation in Denver that was able to be built upon. When he left, Denver was able to make a lot of moves that they otherwise wouldn't have. So I don't look at his departure as this horrible, ugly, negative thing. I know a lot of people do. To that, I also say, build a bridge and get over it. It happened a long time ago. It's time to move on. And don't be the type of fan that because you disagreed with how he left, you're refusing to acknowledge what he did when he was here. He was wonderful for Denver. Of course, I have a little bit of natural bias here because I love Carmelo Anthony and he is one of my all-time favorite players. But to me, you'd be doing a disservice to Carmelo Anthony to not retire his jersey number here in Denver, because of all the things that he was able to do here and the career that he had, whether he ended it in Denver or not. He still had a career here. A large part of his career was here, and he laid a foundation in Denver that was very, very valuable. So to be honest, I get it. Jokic at the end of his career is probably going to rank a lot higher than Carmelo Anthony in different ways, and I understand that. So you don't want to not give Nikola Jokic the isolated respect that he deserves for having his number stand alone from the rafters, but also disrespecting Carmelo Anthony is just not something that I think is appropriate. He's a legend. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer, and he deserves just as much respect and praise as Nikola Jokic does. They're different players. They brought different things to Denver. You could absolutely argue that Nikola Jokic has brought it on a much grander scale because of the championship and just the player that he is. But in no way do I think honoring Nikola Jokic should be at the cost of disrespecting Carmelo Anthony. And so that's kind of my take on all of this. I'm a huge Melo fan, always will be. He's one of my favorite players growing up as a Denver fan since birth. I love, love, love Carmelo Anthony and what he was doing in Denver and the career that he had in Denver. And I just don't think you honor Nikola Jokic by disrespecting Melo. I just don't think that's appropriate. I don't think it's fair, and I don't think it's how it should be handled, because again, you decided to give Jokic number 15. That was your decision. You chose that. You chose that life. Pretty sure the Celtics have 2 number 18s that are retired. It can be done. You could hang Melos with the Silky Baby Blues up there because that was his era, and he's very notorious for rocking those Silky Baby Blues and the braids and the sweatband. I mean, I can just take myself back to being a little girl and watching him play, and that was what you saw. But I definitely don't think that you disrespect Melo in the process of trying to honor Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is still playing basketball. So when that time comes and it's time to hang his jersey from the rafters and it's time to honor the player that he was in Denver, then you have that conversation. But in the meantime, you still do your due diligence in honoring someone that laid a foundation and did a lot for Denver, and that's Carmelo Anthony. When you made the decision to give Nikola Jokic the number 15, not really knowing what he was going to be capable of and what he was going to bring, at the time, you did know for sure what Melo brought to Denver. So you made that choice. Now you got to figure out how to honor both in the most respectful way possible. And I think that's the only answer to this problem, if you will. The only solution to this problem is figure it out. Right now, the conversation that we're having is that Melo is in the Hall of Fame, and we've got to retire Melo's jersey. Jokic will have his time where we're having that conversation, but when you choose to give him the same number, now you got to figure out how to work around that. So I will not tolerate any type of Melo disrespect. I just will not. Yeah, I'm sure by the end of his time, Jokic will be a Hall of Famer and one of the greatest to ever do it, but we haven't crossed that yet. We're in the here and now, and right now, Jokic is still playing phenomenal basketball, and Melo is retiring his jersey, and we need to figure out where that's going to go, and I think it would be very wrong to not have it in Ball Arena in Denver. That's just how I feel. It's like the whole... Again, very different players, very, 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 very different players. And I'm not saying Nikola Jokic wouldn't be Nikola Jokic without Melo, but it's kind of the like, I walked so he could run. Like, let's not forget about the eras that came before the current and the present, because they still mattered. And every player that's gone through this Denver Nuggets organization played a role in some way or another. So honor those players, respect those players the way that they deserve. And Melo, in my opinion, absolutely deserves to be honored. I think you hang both. I think you stick both number 15s up there. One's got that throwback silky baby blue uniform. The other's got the modern era. And any good and true Nuggets fan will know the difference. And they will know that both of those players had value, brought a lot to Denver. One player laid a foundation so that the other could take it to the moon. And that's how I feel. So honor both. Do right by Carmelo Anthony because he did a lot for the Denver Nuggets. And we would be foolish to not acknowledge that and respect that and honor that. So those are my 2 cents there. I'm a big Carmelo Anthony girl, so I will not be... you will not catch slander here on this show when it comes to Carmelo Anthony. The same way you will not catch me slandering Russell Westbrook. We got to see Russell Westbrook play last night with the second unit as the starting lineup, actually. We did not have Jokic out there. MPJ, sending all my prayers his way. I'm not sure what he's dealing with as it pertains to his family, but no, he's been taking some time away from the team to handle that. We didn't have Jamal. He's still been dealing with some injuries. CB was out. Aaron Gordon was out. That also is in large part to the double overtime game against the Minnesota Timberwolves that I think pushed the Nuggets to their limits in more ways than one, physically, mentally, emotionally. Okay. I was drinking wine. I was saying some cuss words. I was stomping around the house. That game was electric against the Minnesota Timberwolves. And so now it poses the question of what is the Denver Nuggets strategy moving forward? In a perfect world, they win a lot of games from now until the end of June. They just keep winning. The reality is, how possible is that right now, given the situation that the Nuggets are in? They have very limited continuity in their starting 5 because we have not seen the same starting 5 healthy for a large part of the season. You've had injuries all over this roster, so bodies are not in full health, which again is not an excuse, but it is a factor, absolutely. And then you've got the Western Conference standings, which I have been very transparent, open, honest, real about the Western Conference. It is stacked. It is terrifyingly stacked with talent. The Western Conference standings are as follows. You've got the Thunder at 1. They're about a whole lot of games ahead of everybody else, which we know that. You've got in the number 2 spot, the Rockets, the Houston Rockets, who went on a really nice heater there for a while, and they have just been very consistently playing some really solid basketball. They've got a young and very talented team. I'm not sure how young and talented looks in the playoffs, because we know that something that is very valuable when you enter the playoffs is having some experience. I think that's the 1 and the 2 seed right now in the Western Conference. Those are the two things that they probably, or the one thing that they probably lack. They're pretty great outside of that, but the experience does matter when you get to the playoffs, which is why even if you're coasting at the top of the Western Conference or the Eastern Conference all regular season long, the playoffs in a lot of ways are kind of a clean sweep in so many ways. So it is very, very valuable to have that experience. And that is something that I think OKC and Houston are lacking in comparison to the other teams in the West. At the 3 seed now officially is the Los Angeles Lakers, because the Nuggets, with their second unit as their starters last night against the San Antonio Spurs, could not get it done. They fell short. So you've got the Lakers at the 3 seed. You've got the Nuggets at the 4 seed. Just a little while ago, and I have been very transparent about the fact that we are going to see a lot of fluctuation between now and the end of the regular season as to what these standings look like. So what is the Nuggets' strategy is the question. The Nuggets were at the 3 seed for a while, and the Warriors were at the 6 seed. So that was, if the playoffs had started on Monday of this week, the Nuggets would have been facing the Warriors. However, things have changed as I expected that they would, and I think they will continue to change. The Warriors are now the 4 seed. At 5, you've got the Warriors. So had the Nuggets won last night and stayed in the 3 seed, who would they have been facing? Well, they would have been facing the Minnesota Timberwolves is who they would have been facing. Yuck. No, thank you. Are the Nuggets running from the Wolves? They're going to say no. I'm going to say hell yes, because anyone that has watched the Denver Nuggets play basketball this season and last knows the Minnesota Timberwolves have just got their number. They have got this Nuggets team figured out. So is there a strategy behind, hey, Nikola Jokic has played a lot of minutes this season. We need him to be healthy. I know there is an aspect of that is true. We need him to be healthy, but also, do we care a lot about being the 3 seed if the Timberwolves are the 6 seed? Yeah, don't think they want that right about now. So if the playoffs started right now in this moment, it would look a little something like this. The Lakers would face the Timberwolves, which I don't know if anyone necessarily wants to face the Timberwolves. We know for a fact the Nuggets certainly don't, because the Nuggets have just struggled all 4 games this season against the Timberwolves. The Nuggets have lost. The Timberwolves just know how to beat this team. It's that simple. The Timberwolves also have really great talent on their team. They're well coached. Anthony Edwards still exists over there. Yeah. And he's terrifying to me and probably most people that are not Timberwolves fans. So if the playoffs started right now, you would still get the Warriors and the Nuggets going head to head. And to be honest with you, I feel okay about that matchup in the first round. I really do. I feel okay with that matchup in the first round. The Lakers would face the Timberwolves, which both teams, I think, have very high highs, very low lows. You've got the Lakers that are kind of starting to heat things up, and I think that's the LeBron James effect, right? You know, the playoffs are around the corner, and he's just starting to get that mojo. Like, he's 20, and he's not. He's 40, but he's got that mojo of, like, it's game time. You've also got Luka Doncic, who you know can produce at a very high level for you when it comes to the playoffs. So you've got these teams that have these insanely talented superstars that are kind of getting in that lock-in mode. The problem with the Denver Nuggets is we're not seeing those stars playing right now. We're not seeing the Jamal Murray that we know playoff Murray can be, because he's not healthy. So he's resting. So we're not really getting to see the value that this Nuggets team could potentially bring with the star power that they've got. But you are seeing it from the Warriors when they've got Steph Curry and Jimmy Butler. You are seeing it with the Lakers because they've got Luka and LeBron. You are seeing it with the Timberwolves, who have Anthony Edwards. You're seeing that on full display as we get closer and closer and closer to the playoffs. So right now, the Nuggets would play the Warriors, which I don't know this to be true for like certain. I don't know for a fact that the Nuggets have this strategy, you know, up their sleeve of wanting to rest their guys and not really care about the number 3 seed unless it's not the Timberwolves that they'd have to face. But because the Timberwolves are the 6 seed, now they don't want to be the 3 seed. Now they're okay with letting some games slip by the wayside. The problem is, though, you don't want to get a little too loosey-goosey with this mindset of playing a strategy and playing a strategic game this late in the season, because if you F around and find out and all of a sudden you are now the 6th seed having to play the Lakers, or you drop and you're the 7th seed and you've now got to face, I mean, the 8th seed right now is the Grizzlies, who have a lot of talent. And sometimes what we see with young teams that lose their coach late in the season, it kind of fuels them as motivation. If there was any type of disconnect between Taylor Jenkins and this young Grizzlies team, and then you get rid of him, now they're just playing because they love the game. They've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. And sometimes those are the scariest teams to face. So if you F around and find out a little too much here, the Nuggets could be in trouble. So this is the dangerous game they're playing here. If there is at all any strategy attached to what we're seeing with this Nuggets team, it could not work out for them the way that they're hoping, right? Right now, let's just pretend that the strategy is let's avoid the Timberwolves at all costs, which, by the way, is not a bad strategy. If I have any say in the matter, Denver Nuggets, let's avoid those guys as much as humanly possible. Yep, I think that's probably a good idea. Given how this season has transpired and given the 7-game series last year in the playoffs, let's avoid these guys as much as humanly possible. So if the strategy is, in fact, let's avoid the Timberwolves, while that's all good and great, I'm not sure matching up with any of the teams in the Western Conference while you're playing with your food is going to bode well for you. I really don't think it will, especially because what this Nuggets team is lacking now more than anything, yes, their defense needs improvement. Of course, yes, the 3-point shooting needs to be a little bit more confident and consistent. But what's lacking even more is the continuity of the starting 5. What is your starting 5 right now? We've been without Jamal Murray some time. Aaron Gordon has missed the majority of the season. He's back now, but he has missed the majority of the season this year. I don't know what that comment says. Too much Russ hate going on. Yeah, we'll get to that in just a second. We absolutely will. But the continuity of the starting 5 is a huge concern. It's a huge problem because we haven't been able to see what this team looks like when they're all firing off on all cylinders and clicking at the same time. We've only seen that a handful of times. And when we have seen it, it hasn't really been against a team like the Timberwolves or the Warriors or the Lakers. It's been against not even Washington. We've actually lost to Washington. It's been against pretenders and not contenders. Let me just put it that way. We saw a really great game against the Utah Jazz just the other night. Guess what? It's the Utah Jazz. I would expect that, right? Given this roster and the level of talent that the Denver Nuggets have, I would expect that from them. So it's a dangerous game that I think the Denver Nuggets are currently playing, because I think while you're trying to dodge the Timberwolves, you're also maybe ignoring just how much talent is in the Western Conference, period, as a whole. None of the teams in the Western Conference to me are easy wins. None of these teams are super beatable when you look at this Nuggets season as a whole, because the highs have been really high and the lows have been really low. And I have yet to see a consistent middle ground where there's things I love and there's things I don't like, but at least we're winning games. We're not seeing that with this Nuggets team yet. If they're playing their best basketball, they're competitive and they're competing and they're winning. When they're all healthy and playing their best basketball, they're competitive and they're winning. But how many games have we seen with a full, healthy starting 5 against contending teams where they also get a dub? It seems they're always just this close to competing against the OKCs, the Timberwolves, the Rockets, the whoever's. The top of the West is pretty terrifying. So I don't think there's any team that this Nuggets team should necessarily feel comfortable facing. And I don't think they do. I don't think that they are going into every game going, oh yeah, we wouldn't worry about Houston the same way we would worry about the Timberwolves. They're too smart for that. I know that they fear the West just as much as I probably do for them. But what we need to see now more than ever is just a little bit more consistency in the good things that they're doing, so that those good habits become muscle memory and that we know they can copy and paste that into any 7-game series that they may face in the playoffs, because any 7-game series that they could face is going to be competitive. The Western Conference is stacked. Okay. I'm trying to get some of your guys' comments. Yes, I agree. The issue is the lack of continuity. Yes, I 100% agree with that. I think that's Kate. I don't know what the name is there. But yes, the lack of continuity is huge. It's huge. And again, it's not an excuse, right? Because every team deals with injuries. Every team deals with, injury riddled rosters and not having a full healthy starting 5 available. Like, every team deals with that. So I refuse to talk about it like it's an excuse by any means, because it just simply is not. That being said, it's hard to gauge my level of confidence with this Nuggets team as the playoffs get closer and closer, because 1, I don't know who's going to be available, and 2, I don't know what this team looks like when they're in full health and playing that playoff level basketball. Because we know it is a different beast. The playoffs are just a very, very different beast, where you do just kind of, you get a little bit more production, you get a little bit more effort, you get a little bit more hustle. They've got that dog in them a little bit more consistently when it comes to the playoffs versus the regular season. But we just haven't seen this team enough to go, oh yeah, when the playoffs are on, Jamal, Jokic, CB, yeah, we're good. We just haven't seen that enough. There's not enough continuity within this starting 5 to feel confident in what they could potentially bring to the table in the playoffs. Okay, another comment will pop up. Russ clutch moments have not been there since he was in OKC. And you know what? Here's the deal. And here's why I am so defensive of Russell Westbrook. That is not what the Nuggets needed him for. That is not what the Nuggets brought Russ on board for. So any person that had the expectation that Russ was going to be hitting clutch threes and single-handedly winning games for the Denver Nuggets, you're a fool. That was never his role here. That being said, as a 17-year vet, in those clutch moments, I expect a little bit of a sharper mind in terms of decision-making skills. The missed layup, the fouling at the three-point line, not great stuff. I'm not happy with that. I'm not thrilled with that. But that's not what this team needs Russ for. At the end of the day, if we want to break down the Timberwolves game, it simply looks like this. They were up by 16 at one point, and they let that game go, period. It should have never been in double OT. Yes, Russ made a big oopsie, and I was not happy about it. I poured a second glass of wine because of it. Trust and believe, I was not thrilled. But they were up by as many as 16 points in that game, and they just let it slip away. That's the issue, because that's what we've seen on full display many, many, many times. We've seen Russ be clutch for this Nuggets team. We've seen Russ had really great production. We've seen him click with Nikola Jokic. So I'm willing to give him a little bit more grace in the category of not having great decision-making skills in the clutch against the Timberwolves than I am for the fact that the Nuggets let a 16-point lead slip away from them, because they've done that a lot this year. That is the common denominator. It's not Russ in a big clutch moment slipping up. Yeah, that has happened in his career many times. But as it pertains to his time in Denver, he has brought a lot of value. He's brought a lot of really great things to Denver. What is the common denominator, and what has been happening way too frequently and way too often, is the Nuggets letting 16-point leads slip away. This is not the first time they've done this, and it's probably not the last. So that's where I struggle. Is I think right now it's so easy to point our fingers in one direction or the other as to what's going wrong with Denver. By the way, folks, this is why I've been so honest and transparent and forthcoming, and why I was so hard on Jamal Murray early in the season, despite people annihilating me for it, is because this is all a result of one thing, which is a lack of effort. We can go ahead and excuse the fact that there's a lack of continuity and say, well, the starting 5 hasn't been together for most of the season. Okay, well, in those 21, 22 games where they were all healthy, were they all giving full effort and practicing good habits to make them muscle memory? No, they probably weren't. You probably weren't getting defensive hustle out of MPJ. You probably weren't getting effort from Jamal Murray until the third quarter. So this is a product of playing with your food too much all season, effing around, and now we're finding out. Now you're in a position where you don't have a healthy starting five available to you. You don't want to face the Timberwolves, so you're okay with a few games slipping through the cracks because you don't want to see them in the first round. I get it. But had you not let those flipping games early in the season to Washington slip away, to the Clippers slip away, we wouldn't have to be even having this conversation. You'd be able to rest your starters against the Spurs and probably be okay. But just like last season, we're back in the same position of these games late in the season are mattering way more than they should because we were effing around and now we're finding out. So I have a little more grace with a Russell Westbrook who slips up in a big moment, right? Because he has brought effort all season long. So I give him a little bit more grace than I give others. But when you are letting games, to the Wizards, you're losing to the Wizards not once, not just once, but more than once. You're letting this team beat you. The Clippers? How many times did the Clippers have your number early in the season? I mean, come on now. So it's copy paste what we saw last season where we didn't see full effort out of this team from jump. And so when the uncontrollable things like injuries are at play, you're in a really tough spot because when you could control it, when you did get that healthy starting lineup for 21, 22 games, there was a lot that you could have controlled that you didn't. Now you're faced with something you can't control and tough. It is what it is. This is why you play tough from jump. I had BK trying to settle me down most of the shows saying, well, everyone kind of locks in a little bit more when it comes to following the All-Star break. The Nuggets are not in a position where they can afford to do that. They're just not. Because you don't have MPJ lighting it up from the three-point line anymore. He's not hustling defensively. Jamal Murray is exceptionally streaky. Aaron Gordon is injured. You can't afford to be lackadaisically playing basketball up until the All-Star break. Because guess what? While you were doing that, these young teams like OKC and Houston were climbing the leaderboards. Now, guess what? You're the 3 seed, scared to face the 6 seed. So now you're letting games slip through the cracks. And in doing that, we're no longer practicing those good habits and building that continuity. It is a vicious cycle with this team. It is a vicious cycle with this team. So while everyone wants to slander Russ in the media, fine, have at it. But if there's any truth to the fact that Nikola Jokic wanted Russell Westbrook as a Denver Nugget, then that should show you the one thing Jokic cares about, which is effort at all times. You don't have to be perfect, but you better show up. And we saw a lot of guys on this Nuggets team not showing up early in this season when the games didn't matter, and it's a long season, and now it's biting us in the behind. That's what's happening. What do we do? What do we do? Do you prioritize the health of your starters and rest them and let games slip through the cracks and not care about seeding and then potentially face a young Grizzlies team that has nothing to lose and everything to gain? Do you want that? Doubt it. There's not one team in the Western Conference that should just be like, yeah, we'll see. We're good. We're good. This is the West. The West is stacked. The West is scary. The West is talented. And the Nuggets relied too much on their God-given talent, and they work hard, of course, but their talent, they relied too much on their talent early in the season and thought the pieces were just going to fall right where they needed to go, and they're not. Because when they had the opportunity to control the controllable things, they didn't. Now they're faced with uncontrollable things, and they are SOL. You feel me? So that's where we're at right now. Couple more comments and then we'll get out of here. I'll quit boring you with all this talk. The difference with Denver is the lack of NBA talent on the depth. A lot of dudes are raw. Look at the Spurs depth. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think last night was a really, really great representation of the depth that is lacking on this team. Doesn't mean they don't have talent, right? I don't want to say that. I don't want to make it sound like this is not a talented roster. It is. Our second unit has a lot of talent. But they're not polished, right? They don't have that NBA polish to them. So much of that is because when you play on a team with Nikola Jokic, you're not playing if he's available, period. You're just not. Are you insane? Why on earth would I play Zeke Naji and Hunter Tyson and DeAndre Jordan when Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic are healthy? I wouldn't. That's just it. So they are raw. They need to be polished. They need to be refined. But they're not going to get that on this team because they're not going to get valuable playing time until one of them is injured and unavailable. So the next strategy outside of the one they're currently dealing with, which is who are we dodging in the playoffs and do we rest our starters ahead of the playoffs, right? Outside of those strategies, the strategy now needs to become what do you do in the offseason? So that there aren't Nuggets fans out there that feel like Nikola Jokic's prime is being wasted. This level of basketball, this talent that we are seeing from Nikola Jokic is unbelievable. Do not piss this away. Don't. It's not a good idea. It's not smart. Front office, you got to start making some moves. Let go of your grudge against Carmelo Anthony for just a moment, and let's focus on the here and now, which is how do we get this team where they need to be so that Jokic's prime is able to be capitalized off of with some more championships. That's the next strategy, is the offseason. And by the way, if you hear my stomach growling, that is so unbelievably embarrassing. I mean, this thing is talking. She wants to be heard. I apologize, my Lord. My gosh, there is not. Listen, we keep it very real, raw, and honest here on this show as it pertains to Denver Nuggets and also as it pertains to Live Moods. Nothing is unspoken. But the next strategy is now, what does the offseason look like for this Denver Nuggets team? Can they let go of their loyalty and the chokehold that the 2023 championship has on them to make business decisions that best benefit not just this team, but Nikola Jokic? At the end of the day, build your roster around Nikola Jokic, point blank, period. If that means you got to let go of an MPJ because he's no longer serving you, then do it. Free yourself from the 2023 shackles, I beg of you. Okay, that is all for today's show. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. This has been another Guerrilla Sports Off Court. We will be live tomorrow night following the game for the Denver Nuggets. They're on the road facing the Golden State Warriors. Do you play your starters? Do you rest your starters? Do you try to get a win here? What's the tea? I'm not sure, but we will definitely find out. We'll break it all down following the game for another post-game live reaction show. I'm your host for today, Liv Moods, and this is presented, of course, by Trusted American Mortgage. Shout out to our friends over at Trusted American for helping people save money, getting them better interest rates, lowering their monthly payments. They are designed to help you out, so check them out right now at trustedamerican.com. I'm Liv Moods. Let's go Nuggets. We'll see you tomorrow night. Signing off for now, but hopefully all smiles tomorrow following a dub for Nuggets Nation.